My name's GuyKesTV. I've been testing mountain bikes for over 22 years, and this is the technical data walk round on the specialised Epic Comp Evo. This is obviously to go with the live ride review, which you'll find on my channel as well. Now, Epic has been specialised full suspension race bike for a long time, in 16 years, since they introduced the original one. But the Evo is their more trail version of the bike, which means that rather than 100mm fork, you get 120mm rebar in the front here, you get a 760mm bar, you get an X-Fusion Manic dropper post, and you get these chunkier ground control and fast track tyres on the back, and they're both in the grid carcass, which is a specialised heavier duty carcass. I mean, they're still sat on relatively narrow 25mm internal Roval control rims, and these are very light, kind of, well, pretty twangy wheels. It's definitely an XC wheel feel, but in terms of hitting stuff, and I've bottomed out these tyres a lot, slapping this bike through stuff. They've been, you know, pretty damn tough, and obviously having a fast rolling tyre on the rear and then a bit more grip on the front works, you know, in terms of, it's that classic mullet mix of kind of business up front, party out the back in terms of speed, and it, you know, it suits it suits the bike well. In terms of spec, you've got a SRAM stylo crank with a 32 tooth chainring and NX Eagle at the rear, so kind of, you know, you're pretty much par for the course for a bike at this price. In fact, the only obvious glitch in the spec is the rear hub has a really slow engagement, which gives it a clunky feel on pickup, which tends to kind of exacerbate the clunk that you already get from the brain system. Up front, you've got this 120mm rebar fork, definitely a lightweight fork rather than a hard-hitting trail fork. You've only got 32mm stanchions on it, so there is noticeable flex in that when you start working it hard. Even though Specialized have gone to the trouble of fitting these oversized torque cap axle caps, which do stiffen things up a little bit. In terms of the spec, Specialized body geometry saddle, always good saddles, Specialized ones, always comfortable. I get along with them really well. And it's X-Fusion Manic dropper post. It's been really, really solid long term when I've tried it. And the dropper lever up top is really neatly done. It's a Specialized dropper lever, it's resin handle, but it's an underbar trigger style one, so nice and neat. And SRAM's level TL brakes. Not the most powerful, but loads of control, and at least you get a 180mm rotor up front for a bit of extra stopping power, because, you know, this is meant to be a race bike that you can thrash that little bit harder. Not so sure about the 80mm stem in terms of progressive trail bike geometry. Obviously that's pretty long compared to most stems at the moment. 760mm bar is decent width, and to be honest, they need that length of stem because the reach of the frame, even this large, is only 446mm, so it is a short kind of old school geometry frame. And Specialized don't actually make a race version using this alloy frame for 2019. They only make this this trail version of the bike, and it also sits in a bit of a weird place in the Specialized line because there's an alloy stump jumper ST short travel one that's about 1,600 quid, so nearly £1,000 cheaper than this bike. But then the next short travel stump jumper is a full jump up to 3,800 with the carbon frame. So there's a 150mm travel stump jumper in the middle, but there's no equivalent short travel stump jumper. So in a way, this bike kind of fills that gap, but they're actually very, very different machines. So in terms of geometry, like I say, this is a race bike, basically with a 120mm fork stuck in the front. Head angle is slacker than the standard Epic. It's 68.5 degrees, but that's still, you know, it's fairly relaxed for a race bike, but it's still steep for a trail bike, definitely. Seat angle is 73.8, so that's reasonably steep, but it hasn't got, you know, it's not fully pushed forward for really aggressive climbing. But the chainstays are relatively long at 438mm. So actually, in terms of technical climbing, I've been pretty impressed what this bike has got up. It puts the power down pretty well. And as you can see, although Specialized normally have a pivot there on their FSR bikes, instead they've gone for the classic thinner seat stay, which helps save weight, and obviously it's one less pivot to worry about. And you can see tyre clearance is a little tight. You're probably not going to get much bigger than that 2.3 in the back there, but then again, for this kind of bike, a 2.3 is more than adequate. That's, you know, that's as much tyre as this bike really needs. Much more than that, it just hasn't really got the muscle to cope with anyway, so not really an issue. You can see you've got internal cable routing there. That's pretty neat. Runs inside the frame for the rear mech, and then just inside the chainstay here for the rear brake. It's a external bottom bracket, specialised in getting big time back into external bottom brackets, which is a great thing from the point of view of durability. And also, another thing for long distance riding, you've got, well, essentially 2 different bottle positions there, whether you're running a large bottle or a small bottle, and also whether you're running a bottle on the seat tube as well. And that's pretty rare that you can get a suspension bike where you can run 2 sets of bottles, and that's the case even on the smaller frames as well. So good job there, specialised in terms of doing a bit of thirst quenching. And just going back to the frame, this M5 Crystallucio Smart Weld tubing technology that Specialized are using at the moment is absolutely fantastic. Massive fan of that. The way they can slim down the tube walls gives an amazingly, almost like titanium whip and spring to things. Works great on their road bikes, works superbly on their Chisel hardtail, one of my favourite bikes, their Chisel Race hardtail. Amazing in terms of smoothness, in terms of forgiveness. And to be honest, if I was going to race, I'd probably go for one of them. And, you know, as a pure race bike, because it is remarkably forgiving for a hardtail. And even, you know, but on this Epic Evo as well, it's got a real spring and twang and life to it. But that's not what everyone's going to want from a short travel trail bike, especially one that, you know, has already got quite a nervous head angle and quite a nervous set of forks on there. It can create problems when you really start ragging it hard. But if you're a lighter rider, quite a supple, subtle rider, you're going to love the flow you can get out of this bike. Otherwise, it's that Specialized Classic kicker link there, and then this super small shock. It's actually quite a long stroke, but the volume of it is tiny, and that's a specific shock to the brain system. And you've got what Specialized call the Man-Fu link here, after Fu Manchu's moustache, I believe. And that just connects neatly into the bottom of the shock shaft, so you haven't got the usual eyelet there. And also, it's one of the few Specialized bikes to still have an auto sag set up. So you put the pressure in, you undo that while you're sat on it, and give it a tap, and it automatically sets sag. Well, they say it automatically sets sag. In experience, it's a little on the soft side, but it's, you know, it's a way of getting a ballpark suspension set up without having to refer to charts and tables and stuff. It's a pretty quick bike to set up from that point of view. But the real defining feature of the suspension and the Epic, the whole Epic really, is what happens at the end of this pipe. Because as you can see, pipe leads very neatly through the actual linkage there into the base of the shock, and then all the way down to this brain on the back end. I mean, basically what you've got is an inertial valve chamber and then some compression damping oil. And what happens is, if it senses an impact from below, the weight pushes up against the spring inside, and that opens the whole compression circuit so the shock can work. And by moving this little clicker here, and it's got 5 settings from firm to soft, you basically change the resistance of the spring from firm to soft, and that means the shock activates or doesn't activate more or less easily. In soft, it's pretty much fully open. In firm, it takes a fair old knock to get it moving. And they have been tweaking and, you know, changing the shock over time, but it's still a really distinctive feel. I mean, when it's in full soft, the bike's pretty mobile. It's pretty neutral suspension feel, but even with just one click on there, it starts to feel pretty clunky as it goes through that transition. And once you get to 3, 4, 5, there's a definite clunk. And if you like that, if you like the fact that, you know, you've basically got a hardtail until that shock opens, then, you know, this is the only bike that offers something like that. But if you're more used to a conventional bike and you want something smooth, it's basically going to feel like it's broken as it kind of goes clunk, clunk, clunk on and off as you're riding along. And I can't tell you whether you're going to like that or not. It's really something you've got to try. And obviously, as long as there's impacts coming through from the bottom, that shock stays open. So it's not like it only takes one hit. Once it's open, it actually stays open pretty well. And to be fair, for such a, you know, it's only 100mm travel, and that is a fairly small volume shock. The way the pivot's located on the main frame and stuff, it does carry speed surprisingly well once you're sending it through chunky stuff. The only thing that really holds it back at speed, in terms of sort of confidence and control, is the geometry and the frame stiffness. I mean, that's what really defines what you can do with it in terms of kind of really pushing the limits, more so than the brain on the back. This is definitely on the flexy side rather than the super ridgy side. And powerful riders are going to kind of tie it in knots if they really get physical with it. As you'll see from the live ride review, But having said that, it is bloody quick, and I've held onto the tail of some big bikes going very fast on technical trails, but it's been a hair-raising experience. So it's not that it can't do it, but I wouldn't say it's most comfortable doing it. And you've also got to remember that for an alloy frame bike with trail tough kit on, it is remarkably light. This is under 13 kilograms for a bike that's under £3,000. So far lighter than any of the 120mm kind of race trail bike options, which are about 800 grams heavier than that. And again, even the shorter geometry with that traditional sort of stem length and everything will suit some riders. Not everyone likes this whole new school short stem, long reach thing. Personally, I'm a fan, but there's going to be a lot of people who've ridden Epics for a long time and just fancy something a bit burlier, or racers who've got a limited budget but still want to ride some trail stuff or want to push harder than a standard race bike. This is potentially a great option for them. Anyway, that's the tech talk round done. Like I said, there's a live ride review as well, and if you go on my Patreon subscription channel, there is also an unboxing video and a full first ride that actually has me going off over the moors all over there in the middle of the night, ends up, and that was quite a revealing ride in terms of what this bike could and couldn't do. So, thanks very much for watching. I've been GuyKesTV, this has been GuyKesTV. That has been the Specialized Epic Comp Evo. There is a full live ride review compilation of different snippets from months of riding on this bike, on and off. And just like to say thanks to Specialized for the helmet, thanks to Sumi for the shirt, thanks to Specialized for the absolutely awesome SWAT cargo bib shorts. I might be slightly dividing my opinion on the bike there, but these shorts are absolutely superb. I pretty much ride these every mountain bike ride. 7 mesh for the shorts, O'Neill for the pads, Mons Royale for the socks, Specialized for the shoes, and 100% for the gloves. Just to make it clear, Specialized haven't paid for this video. They sent me the bike for review just because I asked for it, because a lot of people were asking what my opinion was on it, and I'd not ridden the Epic Evo. I'd ridden the Epic before, but I just wanted to kind of get it on the channel so people could get my opinion on it. So if there's anything I've missed out, get busy in the comments below, and thanks for your time watching. Like I say, subscribe, click for notifications, and if you fancy a bit more exclusive in-depth coverage and some early edits, get on my Patreon channel. Thanks a lot for your time, though. Cheers.